these things that are in here all have somebody else doing them already in the organization.
Yeah, and you already have it in your
Want to do that
candidate
guy's
profile. It's the very first paragraph.
And yeah, you already, in the first sentence up there, you said you gotta have related experience in a related field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there already to read. It just doesn't have specific wording.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I think you're right. I think that excluding it may cause some internal organizational drama, but I'm willing to go with the simpler sentence. But I would put money on the fact that we're gonna hear back about the fact that we are opening it up to people who have absolutely, we haven't called out the fact that we're looking for some type of transportation experience.
So you did the first
Yeah,
sentence.
in the very first sentence.
Must
Okay,
have a
we'll give it a go.
transportation planning or related
I'm gonna
field.
forward my emails back to the rest
Okay,
of you.
and Robin or Meg, whoever's writing this, would you read this back so that we're giving direction to Profman now.
Right.
Profman needs direction from us.
What are we doing with that second,
We're cutting.
or the whole thing?
Apparently, we're gonna, not apparently, what I've heard is that we're cutting down to candidates must have a valid Washington State driver's license. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Or the ability to obtain, I mean,
Yeah,
that'll
right.
eliminate, yeah.
That sentence.
Well, yeah, and if they come from a right to work state, need not apply. Just for us Democrats. For us Democrats.
Okay, 2016 is really in full roll now. We got it going.
So do you want me to say it?
And can I jump to page 4? or not?
Wait, hold on. I want to clear this one up before we move on.
So this is what,
We-
this is for us, affirming that we have it too.
Okay.
So a bachelor's degree in public administration, general business administration, transportation planning, or a related field, and 10 years of management, of 10 years of related management experience in the public or private sector.
Yes.
Delete everything until candidates must have the ability.
Have the ability.
No, it says that.
It
It
says
says
that.
candidates must have a valid Washington State driver's
Yeah,
license.
or the
yeah,
ability to
okay,
obtain
okay.
one higher.
So then that last sentence,
Yeah,
the same.
that's what we want. And then over on the compensation benefits, don't we want to put a asterisk along with that this is the general range? Let's give them specific language to send back to Profit.
Somebody said it already. I think you said it, or somebody said it.
I would say $100,000 to $130,000 benefit package, including medical, dental, life insurance,
And holidays.
holidays, provided or something.
Are negotiable.
Provided, yeah. Something.
Generous benefit package.
Generous
To
benefit.
be
Yeah,
negotiated.
yeah, to be negotiated, and we're done, and I would not detail all that out.
Yeah.
So-
Generous benefit package included.
So 100 to 130, and then the next arrow, generous benefit package
Included,
included.
and then that can be negotiated when you get to contracts.
Yeah.
How about complete benefit package to be negotiated?
Good. I like
Yeah,
that.
That's even better.
Good, Lance.
Because generous is,
Yeah.
Read the other stuff.
Yeah. Complete benefit package to be negotiated.
so, are you guys clear on what the floating holidays are? So like, we provide service on President's Day. And so instead of having that day off, we get a float, is what we call it. So it's kind of it's to be a wash, so.
Does everybody take it, or does just each individual?
We all have it, because we're actually,
Because we have to be here, the operators.
Yeah.
You could use one of the days for a 3-day weekend if you chose,
You
right?
could,
Yeah.
you could even use it for President's Day.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we did those flags.
Yeah.
Okay, page 4 before we close this thing out.
Under ideal candidate, paragraph number 2, ideal candidate profile, paragraph number 2, the first sentence says the ideal candidate will need to maintain open and transparent relationships with the board of directors. And I'd like to add and staff to that
Good.
sentence.
Good point.
Jackie was gonna do that.
I like that.
Good job, Jackie. And then the third the final paragraph, I added that staff right here. And then the final paragraph on that page Island Transit is expecting major changes, including possible implementation.
Those were my two, you took them. Really?
I mean, that's because we were kids.
I did the same thing in earlier paragraphs where it was talking about the system itself, where I mentioned in page 3, Island Transit is currently a zero fare system. It's not definite.
Yeah.
And that it's dependent upon state and federal funding. At the end of the sentence, it's funded by 9.9% sales tax and state and federal subsidies. Because we do. If we don't get the state and federal subsidies, we lose 25% of our revenues.
We'll say federal funding, you want to.
Funding, yeah, funding, use the term funding. So I kind of was looking at the same thing, so that they know that the system is evolving, but we can't, that they know ahead of time, we cannot survive on 0.9% sales tax. It's not, we can't.
So you have that, Meg and Robin?
Okay, I have one under number 2 of page 4, and on the fair thing too, and just add, so midway down, it's under studies, under midway down that paragraph, it says it is intended that the board will enact. I would rather have it say, it is a possibility that the board will enact the fair program for the first time.
So,
Say
yeah,
it is possible that.
Yeah, it is possible, or it is a possibility that.
And I have one more, so that we're not blindsiding a candidate. They would figure it out if they came in from out of town, but just in case a candidate is somebody that likes the big city. Page 2, first paragraph. Is located in the Puget Sound, just 25 miles north of Seattle. That is extremely misleading. That as the crow flies, okay? It should be 2 hours north of Seattle. So that the people, if they're looking at being a big city, or an hour and a half north of Seattle, whatever the case may be. But we are not 25 miles from Seattle.
Well, if we had an applicant who didn't check out where we are relative to Seattle, I'm not sure he would rise to the top of the list, or she would rise to the top of the list.
Well, you never, you know, when I took orders to NAS Whidbey Island, I was told, oh yeah, it's a little island right outside of Seattle. And I got to Seattle and thought I was going to take a cab. Okay? When the nice lady is there, luckily I got somebody nice at TWA and says, excuse me, that's a 2-hour ride. But we've got this little airplane down here.
You don't have a stagecoach? You didn't have a stagecoach?
I didn't come in on stagecoach, it was canoe.
So general feedback I would provide is to not make declaratory statements about future decisions as factual foregone, and then just to, make that. I think that's probably the big feedback, and then areas where, obviously the executive director takes policy direction from the board, and then emphasize that leadership throughout the organization. So it's not just a relationship with the board that we're looking for. This is the manager of the organization, so the relationships with staff is equally as important, and I want to make sure that, I don't know if I've identified all the opportunities, but that we call that out as a value set of the organization.
Agreed.
Leadership is a big deal.
And if I could make one last comment, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make sure, and I'm not certain of this, but I would like to say it anyway, in fairness to Kaufman, that the way this was put together was out of their talking to us, gathering everybody's thoughts, and trying to make it into one coherent. So for the public that's thinking, wow, this is just a rough draft of everything they put together and coagulated from all of us, and
I think overall it was
I think
good.
it came out good, yeah. And so for the first look, it was really good, and I think we worked good.
Some of the, because we just did, we got our timing a little bit off because we just did our outreach meetings to determine what's looked for throughout the organization. A lot of the feedback that we heard back was outreach and engaging at all of the different levels, to understand the product at all different levels, and so just that time investment of knowing enough about each department and what they do, there was a desire for an employee advocate, somebody who would be the face of the organization out in the community, and I think a lot of this got addressed, but I just want to make sure that we're getting the obvious things in here.
Communication.
Communication
All
was
the way up and down.
huge on it, understanding of the workflow. They definitely want a clear understanding of the individual's background. Of course, their preference is to have someone who's been a driver. This is not surprising. But again, I think it mostly came down to communication, being somebody who's willing to communicate within the organization and understand the needs of the organization at the various levels. And so I want to make sure that we just don't lose sight of that in this process. And then we received some feedback also about the process going forward, and I don't know if you want us to share that with you now or with Prothman in terms of the interviewing process. And there's a desire to have a staff panel or a staff meet and greet that's separate from the public meet and greet so that they can discuss kind of those inner working conversations and get a vibe separate from what the public might be looking for in terms of that face. And so I wanted to give that feedback to allow time in our process for that involvement as well. There was some discussion about maybe if there was an employee panel that they may self-elect a representative from their group, whether it be maintenance or drivers, and that person would sit on the interview panel. And so that's something to consider, but I think it needs to be passed on to Prothman for, maybe the board doesn't want to do that, but it should be passed on to Prothman to consider in their outline of the timeline. How do you, Jeff?
No, that's good.
No, that's pretty much on my meeting.
I think
Ron
it-
Cabedo
yeah.
was very similar. Communication. They were, with the new CEO, they'd like to have somebody that comes to Camino and visits with them frequently. And in regards to UCAN, they were thrilled to death. They said that never before you got here, did they have direct contact with the executive director, and you did that, and they were greatly appreciative of it, and they want to see it continue on in the future. The key thing I kept hearing was communication. I did hear the thing about a possibility of like a labor management committee or whatever, to have input on, with basically the drivers or the employees have some input as far as the picks of the same type of thing too. Also with meet and greet type thing where they get to meet and see the folks, maybe have some input, say, yeah, this person seems like a good fit or work. But most of it was communication and being there. And then I heard some other things from the operators on other parts. I already addressed the porta potties with Ken. He's going to look into them, so you can pass that through. And well, when we get to the future things they've talked about, big committees and everything else, but as far as the CEO, that was the main thing that just FaceTime, communication was key. They said there were a couple of issues that they brought up about other things that could be taken care of. I would.
And Rick, if I could make a suggestion on what you were talking about, you talked regarding porta potties and stuff. If there was a notice that went out to Camino as a follow-up on what our discussion was on Saturday, Board of Directors member Rick Hanna-Lice explained to us that this is what's being done since that meeting, that you can look into those porta potties and the security of them. That would be a good update.
So the rest of the board is aware of what
Yeah.
it came up, is that for the drivers over there, the only bathroom facility they have, other than going back to the main maintenance facility or the annex over there, is a porta potty at Terry's Corner, which is open to all the public, and it's, needles in there, and it's trash, and it's this and that. They requested that they have something that's perhaps lockable, that is just for the drivers, and I even mentioned, I said, well, there's nothing at the other end of the bottom they can look into. As the Holly County 2% Committee knows so well, porta potties are important, so I mentioned maybe we could have one like at the Elgin-based store. So that they have something, place to go with either, I feel for them.
Yeah, and they have,
Elgin Bay Store has a bathroom, and there's a bathroom next to, like
What?
an actual bathroom next to this corner, I vote.
Well, that's, but then some people, myself included, if you go into a business to use the bathroom, you feel compelled to buy something.
Get a little understanding.
I know they mentioned the tomato coffee, kind of gives you a little bit of backlash about it. Oh, you're in the bathroom again? So.
and then they're supplied with.
And then this is not an infrequent, I mean, it's been on all the news reports, everything else. So this is the thing that's, regional wide, especially I guess with community transit, sound transit. The unions actually got involved because people don't get bathroom breaks or don't have any place to
Okay,
go.
we're not.
Yeah.
Let's not get there. I don't want to dirty up the conversation with that, so.
Okay, Ken.
Just to comment on the porta potty, Rick, that has been a significant issue for us over the months.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gone unnoticed at all. And we've researched it, we've researched how many times a week it's cleaned. It costs us, I don't know, $100 and something per week, is it that much, just under $100 a week, I think.
I think it's more.
To maintain it once a week, to clean it. So we looked into having it cleaned twice, they were gonna just double the rate, to clean it twice.
Really?
And, so we've looked at that, we've looked at going back to the coffee shop. We've asked employees to voluntarily kind of monitor the situation, to get a handle on what's going on there. But we're keeping it, and Sean is doing his own random checks on it. And the times that he's been over there, it's been okay, as I understand it. But it's been an ongoing issue, we continuously have been looking at it. We haven't found a real good solution to it yet. But it's been, we've known about it for months, and we continue to address it.
Ken, is that one that's open to the public as well as the drivers? That we're
Yeah.
paying $100 a week for?
Yeah.
It's not unusual.
Why don't you tell them, we want a private one, we'll continue to pay it. I mean, why can't we get a private one with a low lock and the operators have a key and they use it and they say to the public, because you keep, someone in the public needs to go, it's hard to say, no, that's it, but you get, there's your public one and this is only for the drivers.
You looked into that?
Yeah, one of the issues that came back as we suggested that was some of the operators themselves said that, okay, try to tell some Susie when you're getting out of your bus and going to use the bathroom that they can't use it too. So they're saying we're putting them in a position to have to tell the public no, that they can't use that bathroom.
Yeah, I
Then
understand.
they start making up other,
Yeah, I
These are
understand.
overcome
That's why I
problems.
suggest one
That's
for
a
the
sign that
operators
says
that's
transit
secured
employees
and one for the
only.
public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can overcome those those are easier problems to overcome. The harder thing will be, I'm sure Tomato Coffee's concern is septic usage, and
Yeah.
because there's no septic over there,
had
so we
that
just gotta figure those
conversation.
things out, yeah.
Island Transit's mission is to provide cost-effective, reliable transportation and not restrooms or lunch.
Very
Well,
rare
we
before.
got, people are, we have employees, sometimes people have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's basic.
Last thing I'd like to
At any
say,
rate, Ken has it for action, so we'll leave it at that.
Can we make these changes
Mr. Chair.
and submit them to
Oh, yeah,
Carl?
hey, let's take can we make these changes, give specific direction on the record for those changes that were made, and to get this back to Cropman. There was another item on there, Ken, that you mentioned about the date, when the cutoff date for the applicants was moved back a week. That schedule doesn't look
To
very.
bring this to the board, they've extended the process a week.
So, I'll ask legal this question. I'm comfortable with those changes being implemented and this being released. I mean, if we look through and the changes that we talked about are included, and you Ken heard them, and we have a head nod that they're in there, and I don't have concerns about releasing it. Do we need to see it final, or?
You can direct him to
you know, that's the
I'm all for
motion I would
getting
make
it
too.
going.
Yeah, I am too.
It's, the week delay was because they wanted the information from me, and my response was, the contract is between the board and Kaufman, not me and the board, and I wanted the board to have input into the.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, yeah.
Go, Jen.
Oh, well, I make a motion that we accept the work that Crawford has done with the changes that we made.
I'll second. Okay,
What's next?
It's just discussion, there's no action.
Yeah. Just
Just
do it, Candy.
Just direct them to,
Yeah.
okay.
The chair should direct.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Based on consensus.
anybody want to withdraw that motion? Can the
Withdraw.
second?
It wasn't
seconded. I didn't hear anything. It's only on camera, that's all, so.
No, it's not.
Well, I think the chair should direct, based on consensus that it's heard from discussions.
Yes. So the board will direct you to move forward with the Prothman advertisement for the executive director based on their application information and the modifications that we discussed in this meeting. You have our direction. And, okay, we have an executive session.
Can I, before you close,
Don't
can
be
I,
fast, because I really am.
Closed session.
can I add one thing real quick before you
Sure.
all close? I received a call from Mike, I can't think of his last name, it's the aide to Representative Larson. He's going to be in town on January the 21st, which happens to be our birthday. And anyway, he asked if there was, he knew that I was on the board down here at Colby, and Rick wants to take a tour of Island Transit. I called Ken and made arrangements with him, so we are going to come down here, and he would like to meet board members if available.
Sure.
I told him there was a meeting the next day, but anyway, January 21st at 1:00 p.m., we're gonna meet here. So just so you know, I'm not thinking around behind your back, I think it's gonna be him and I, and Jill might be there. I don't know, anybody, he said anybody that can come down and say hi, and he just wanna look at the facility.
no more than 2 at a time.
Yeah, that's what I said, no more than 2.
Well, that'd be 2 in for a while, and 2
Yeah.
more.
You just have to notice it. You just have to do a notice of attendance and
Well,
not do
yeah,
any,
you could do that.
any business work. So
Yeah, no business.
if more than 2 come, just issue
He
a
just,
notice of attendance.
because of the fact there were a lot of federal funds that
Yeah.
were used to build this place, and he was behind that, and he's never seen it. He just kinda
1
wanna see it.
o'clock.
1 o'clock on the 21st, bring birthday cake for me. My last year in my 50s.
Oh, and, Ned, do you want to, announce where
Yeah.
you're gonna be gone?
Before we died.
I'm gone
You can sing it
this
when I-
Thursday and all next week, but Robin and I are tight on, you have the 20th agenda. We don't have paperwork for that, the auditor had that. And then for the regular board meeting on the 22nd, putting together the agenda now. So it'll be as if I'm here in spirit, but Robin's coming with me.
And I will not be here on the 20th?
Yeah, I can't. Well, one of us is gonna be here. We just have to figure it out. Because we have, that's our work session.
On the 20th.
Yeah.
I will be here on the 20th.
You will? Okay. And I'm thinking, because I'm chairing the work session at county, so Jill's probably gonna represent us,
This
and
for
I'll
the-
vote for her to come.
The auditors exit conference. I will not be here.
And the date was picked at the auditor's.
Yeah.
It was at their discretion.
From
will
what I
be here.
understand, it was a good audit, preliminary.
It was.
signals
We
were
had
good
a-
audit, not much to put out.
We had a preliminary exit audit conference on telephone, and they went through virtually all of the stuff. And the bottom line is, there are no findings. I think there are 3 letters of recommendations, and it was for 2014, not for 15, although they floated into some review of 15, just to see the progress that the board, or not the board, but the transit's making. And they were complimentary regarding the progress that we had made. That is about it.
Okay, we're
We
gonna,
gotta go.
I have a lot
Go for it.
Yeah.
Well,
We have a full
Closed
session.
So I have to leave at 10:01.
Yeah.
5-minute break?
5-minute break, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can stay here.
We'll stay.
We'll stay here.
I'll meet at 9 and I'm not going to meet at 8. Bruce, are you planning on coming on the 20th? I'm not a morning person.
On the 20th?
Yeah, that's my life.
Yeah.
For us, it can be a tie.
It's the replacement art video. Okay. I will. That'll be.
Are you okay with meeting at 9 o'clock before our meeting on the second?
No.
Where are you going on vacation to, Meg?
We are going on a cruise to the Caribbean.
Oh, you ever been to Caribbean?
Right.
But I've never been, it's always been like maybe a dive trip or something, and this is just,
The Caribbean is just, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Been there a bunch. When I was in JQ 132, we did the majority of our work up down in the Caribbean. We'd always have, we'd go out and go out for a couple of weeks at a time down to we'd go to the Bahamas and we'd go to Virgin Islands. We'd always, I've probably been to St. Thomas a dozen, 2 dozen times.
we went down there for dive trips, that's the diving, but we haven't just gone and been lazy. And I'm so excited. It's been at least a couple of years since I've had a real vacation. So this is high on my list of things to do.
Yeah, I can tell my wife over to take her.
It'll be good. I'll come back all tan. Well, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you didn't get a watch.
Oh, exactly like this.
I thought it was gonna end like the Pittsburgh game. You know, with the penalty right there at the end and
Yeah,
lose
it
the
was
field goal. I'm like, oh my
I
God.
was down in
Cam Chancellor had that penalty. I'm like, oh, just don't push the referee. Don't push the referee.
Ken said he was gonna say.
Well, I was watching that story with my wife, the relatives of her, and after,
I have it
we're all
already.
screaming when the field goal went up, and one of her cousins was, penalty flag.
Okay, I'll have to get that for you.
Oh.
And this is ordered.
No, I almost killed
That
him.
Pittsburgh
That
thing
was
was phenomenal. I was that, oh yeah, that's typical.
And then you'll
Pittsburgh,
bring it
Cincinnati.
up.
When I grew up in Pittsburgh, we used to go to Cincinnati and to Cleveland for football games. And that's the whole reason we'd go was to fight the stand. That's all, I mean, it'd be bloody
Oh,
raw.
yeah, they had that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that nastiness has been going on between them cities for 50 years, 60 years.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I still haven't seen the video of, when I was watching it,
You're way ahead of the game.
when they got the second penalty.
See, what happened is when they finally got the guy that got hit,
Right.
he was up on his feet, they were helping